Okay, welcome back to the second part. Okay, now what I want to do is to be able to click on this clear button. So whatever data I have in here, I should be able to clear it, and maybe at the same time we should be able to reset these very buttons. Okay, so we can't do that, so let's go straight into the codes. And right here where we have btn reset, so what I need is, you see all of these lines of codes. Unfortunately you guys can't see it. Maybe I should just break it into, yeah, why not, let's break it so that you guys can see all of the codes. That is for text only, so let's take it down, press enter. So I'm going to copy that anyway, just modify it. There we go. So you can see that that's for text only. All right, the next one, that is to change the color mouse leaf for the buttons. So bring that down as well so that you can see all of the codes. There, those are the lines of code for mouse leaf. All of this is just a component. So let's do the same thing for this one. And there we go. There, that's done. I think that's all there is to it. Okay, now you see these very ones here. I'm going to copy all of these. That's for the text box. I'm going to copy them all, and right in here you see where we have btn reset, right here, btn reset. I'm going to use the following for each, let's go for, I'll just call it T, and let's assign an array there. So the first one is meant to be this very one here. So that is supposed to, let's copy that as txt1, comma, followed by txt vodka, paste, comma, and followed by txt tomatoes. All right, let's paste that in there. So for those three, and all I just need to say is t dot clear, and that's it. So if I show you what's going to happen with this, let's run it just with those three. We need vodka, tomatoes, and wine. So let's see, vodka, enter anything in there, tomatoes, then the wine right there. So if I click on this, there, you see how easy that is. So what I will do is just copy the rest of them and just speed it all up, and I'll get back to you guys. Alright, right here guys, you see how the lines of codes look like. Let's play around with this and see. Okay, just to prove that it works, just for you guys to know that it works, let's now click there. That's fine. Now what about these ones? I forgot to add those ones. Okay, in the case of those ones are no big deal. So let's just enter LDL subtotal dot text equals clear. Then we have that of tax as well. That is, this one will be for total, then LBL, and just paste that. So that is fine. Okay, we've done that of text box, labels. Now what about these ones? Let's check out the names. for those ones. We need the names. Okay, right click, we need the property. Okay, that's the name, Apple. Let's copy that. So we may have to, I'm going to speed that up anyway. Come right in here. Let's repeat the same thing for each. For each R in comma, and we just want it R dot reset. Okay, let's come here and say next, and this one is supposed to be checked equals false. Okay, let's take this off. Now this is supposed to be an array, right? Okay, so let's find out the other one. Okay, I think it's going to work. Let's see what's the name of the other one. We have orange. Sorry, orange. Copy that, come in here, paste that in there, enter a comma and put an orange there. Okay, so that's fine. So let's try out these two anyway. Run and select both, enter whatever in here. Okay, reset. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm just gonna speed that up and get back to you guys. Okay, that is ready now for the radio buttons. Okay, I represent the radio button with an R. Okay, and that's, we have a text box in here, txt, to represent that as well. So maybe I should just call this rad. Let's enter rad in here as well. Okay, so radio button represent all of the radio buttons, rad represent all of the radio buttons, and text represent all of the radio buttons. In the case of the label, so we just that's not a lot, so we just use just play it. That's fine. Okay, if I run it now, let's run it. You guys can see how that works. So select any of those. So we can just click there. That's fine. So that's working how we want. Okay, now one thing, you see all of this, let's get all of the text in there, let's get it centered and maybe enter 0 into them anyway, and repeat the same thing for these ones. And let's come right in here, and the text value, make that 0 and get it centered right there. That's fine for all of them. And here, let's copy one of these and just paste it there. Right, so maybe we enter let's just say we can just call that maybe item purchased. Okay, and reset, or maybe value of items, or cost of items, and reset. Yeah, so that's fine. Okay, the second step is let's use the form load to disable all of these, the text box and the checkbox. So double click on that, and here these ones are now very handy. Let me copy all of these and bring them down into form load, paste them in there. I don't need this, and right here for all the text I'm just gonna enter dot enable equals false. There, that takes care of that. I think we can repeat the same thing for rad dot enable equals false. There. So when the form load, let's see what's going to happen. Right there, you see all of these are now disabled. Okay, so the only thing that should be able to enable them would be just these labels. Okay, now we put together some line of code to enable this radio buttons. Okay, so let's come in here, let's double click on this very one here, and we can always say RB. I think it's RB. No, the checkbox that I call it. It is a checkbox. CHKR radio, CHK Apple, yeah, dot enable equals true. Alright, that is for the Apple. Okay, which means when I run it and click on that, that enables this. Okay, let's see, but this did not disable that. Enable, okay, one day. Now we know. Okay, let's double click on the meatballs and just say CHK meatballs dot enable equals true. Okay, what? Let's see. This one did not. Can we click on that? That should. Yeah. Okay, it has to be all. Okay, so that's different. So let's come back in here. We can also say enable, yeah, dot enable equals false. Okay, let's see. Click enable. Yep, that is correct. Works how I want. Alright, that is fine. Now the next thing we want to do is we just need to speed it up because it's all the same lines of code in there, and this is tomato, so in the case of that we just need CHK tomato. Let's get the T in there and paste and do that. Let's copy this, let's paste it there. Okay, we need to paste that as well here. Yeah, so that is fine. So all we just need to do is speed this all up. That is for CHK, the ham, smoke ham, there. So let's run it. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. We need to check these two out. All right. So we're going to speed that up now. Okay, it's way down here. We're gonna speed this up. So let's go for the orange first. CHK orange. Is there anything here? There we go. There. CHK mate. Right. So now that we get the hang of it, I'm going to just speed that up. And I'll get back to you guys. Yeah. Okay, we've completed the coding of all of these. So as you can see, the buttons can now enable all of the checkbox. So that is fine. So the customer can just select any, or the sales assistant can select any of the item that the customer would like to purchase. Alright, and we can also reset it, but if you notice we have zeros in here. When we reset, all the zeros are gone. So let's take care of that while I show you guys the present codes. So in here, instead of .clear, I'm just going to change that to zeros. So it won't be clear anymore. There will be zeros right in each of those text boxes. Alright, that is that taken care of on the reset button here. Okay, the rest of the codes right here, that is how it's done so far. So it's just the checkbox enable equals true. So the next thing we need to do now is to come in here, let's run it and make sure these zeros are back. So we check all of these. There, the zeros are there. That's fine. Okay, now on each text box, I'll double click on this very first one. So let that enable, let it enable the text box. Okay, let's say txt apple dot enable equals true. That is fine. So that we enable that, and at the same time we would like txt apple dot text equals, let's say, clears it, and txt apple dot focus, so that you enter a value in there. Good. Okay, let's just run it so that you see what that's meant to do. If you click on this and enable the apple, then you can enter the how many apples you would like to purchase, or the customer would like to purchase in there. Okay, so that is fine. But supposing you did not enter anything in there and you move on to the next one, then we expect this to do something. So let's go back in here, this very text box, let's double click on it, and let's say if this, oh, let's use an if this the text equals nothing, then, and let's go for an chk Apple dot enable, then txt, let's grab all of this, change that back to 0, and enable equals false. So if there's nothing in there, that's what we want the system to do. Alright, I think maybe let's get rid of this first. Let's try it out with this other one, because that will give us an error really. Okay, let's run it and see. Come in here, click there. Alright, this is not, this should get rid of this. Let's go back, double click on this. When I enable, clear it. Okay, once it's cleared, the focus should be in there. Let's see that again. Okay, all right, I think it actually highlights we should enter something in there. Okay, what about we enter a value and there? No, that's not what I want. If I uncheck, I want this. Okay, I think I'm doing something wrong. Oh, let's change the whole program. Let's use an if statement to validate what's going on. If Apple dot checked equals true, then we want the following to happen. All of those should happen. And if, okay, but if is, I'm going to use double ifs. If it's false, then this one becomes false and this becomes 0. Why this? There's nothing in there. Okay, so let's come back in here and see. So if I enable, check there, uncheck, check, and uncheck, but I want the content in there gone. So what I would do is come back in here. I need to change this around. Let's come in here, just copy these ones. Let's paste this in here. If this does check equals true, the content in here disappears, and we actually want it to. We don't need this because we already have it up there. So let's see what's going to happen. Okay, right, but if it's unchecked, checked, and unchecked, do we even need these lines of codes at all? Let's call it off and see, because I don't think we need it at all. Uncheck. Okay, that's fine. We don't need it at all, but we can always modify it later on. Supposing is empty, and we click on another button, we expect this to react. So we'll come back there and take care of that. Now let's just copy all of this and use it for the others. So come right in here, double click on arrange, paste, and everything in here becomes orange. So checkbox is orange, text box is orange there. So that's what I will have to do for all of the checkboxes. I suppose you guys now get the idea, and I'll just speed it all up. Okay, so let's run that. You see what will happen. Yeah, you can enter value in there. Orange, check. You can enter orange in there. Okay, that's fine. So let's speed that up. Let's check this there. Speed it up. All right, we've completed the codes. Okay, for all of the checkbox. Have a good look at it. That is for the meatballs. It's the same lines of code for the meat itself, the bacon, ham, fish, and the other fish that's supposed to be smoked fish. Okay, the same lines of codes anyway. There. That is it, fellas. Okay, the next thing I want to do is, supposing when we run the program, I click on Apple, select that, and the sales assistant mistakenly left that empty and move on to the next one, and to the next one, and to the next one. We expect the system to do something about it. Okay, let's do something about this error here, because the system should leave it blank. So let's exit and come right in here. I'm going to select all of these group box, select it all, and the form itself. Now let's come in here and let's use mouse over. Let's come down in here, maybe. Okay, the nearest is mouse over right there. So maybe we can give it a name, or we can just, yeah, let's give it a name. Enter underscore value, or enter 0. Yeah, so double click on it right there, enter 0, and all of those mouse over is there. One, you can see them, 1 2 3 4. That's fine. What about my, okay, I cannot see this in there. I'm just gonna copy this. That's for the form itself, and right here, comma, enter the form. That was the form. Okay, you can, I suppose you can see all of that events that I'm using for all of those objects. The next thing I want to do, since I've already written out the code, I'm going to come in here, double click on my reset. You see these very lines of code is got to do with all of the text box, so I'm going to copy that and scroll right down, go to my enter 0 event right here, paste that in here. So here I will then use an if statement. If txt dot text equals empty, then I want it to default back to 0, then end if there. So what will happen is, when you run the program and leave any of those text box empty without anything, it will default back to 0. Okay, so let's see. Alright, let's give that a try and see. So let's run it now. Come in here. And you select an apple. Let's say you enter a value in there, orange, check nothing, nothing as well. You see that has defaulted back to 0, but the text box hasn't changed to enable is still on. Okay, so let's come back in there and right here I say txt dot enable equals false there. So that should take care of that. So if I run it now, I'll repeat the same thing. Enter a value there. Select anything here. Nothing entered. And we enter something here. You see that has defaulted back to 0. Okay, but this one need to go back to unchecked. So, but we can always do that here somewhere. Okay, I think we should take care of that error that I showed to you guys. You see that this will go back to 0, but this one still checked. The same thing applies to any of them here. Okay, so that's not good enough. Let's take care of that. We come to, let's double click on this and write in there if, let's say if txt apple.text equals, let's say there's something in there. Oh, we can check the very first one then. Okay, that's, let's say chk apple dot checked equals true, and okay, then we say we want this to become unchecked. Okay, chk apple dot checked equals false, and also let's disable it. So if you need it, you go back and reactivate it with the button. So dot enable equals false as well. Okay, that should take care of that. So let's try that out, then we can speed it up. Click this, select this, and nothing is done. Come in here, select that, and we enter a value in there. You see that, guys, it automatically changes to what it was. So let's do that again. Okay, let's come back, click, and nothing happened. See that defaulted back. So that is fine. So what I'll do is just speed that up and get back to you guys. Okay, I've completed all of the codes. Note the event that was used, that is text change. So hopefully that should default everything back to what is meant to be, and those are the lines of codes. It's all the same lines of codes anyway on the text box itself. That works in conjunction with the event that was written that default everything back to 0. Works with this. Okay, so let's run it and you guys see what I'm talking about. Right there, if you click on that and select this, enter a value there. Let's say you click on that and select that no value. You see that it defaulted back to 0 and everything becomes, or the checkbox becomes grayed out. And the same thing here, nothing, RAM, enter a value. Let's enter an amount there. Beans, browse, apple. Okay, so you can then click and enter your total for all of these. So to do that, we have to write some lines of code. But with that, I'm going to call it the end of the second part of this tutorial. See you guys later.